My name is Amber Gump, and I'm the Director of Student Financial Services at Muskingum University. And this video is designed to help you through the process of applying for financial aid. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me at amberg@muskingum.edu. Here are a couple of important steps in applying for financial aid. So the first step is that the student is going to need to create an FSA ID. So the FSA ID is really just a username and password that allows the student to access the federal student aid sites. So just like any other website that we're on today, you have to create a username and password. So federal student aid is no different. And the student will go to fsaid.ed.gov to create that. And then the second step is if a parent is also going to be filling out the application with the student, they will need to create their own username and password, and they can do that at the same site. Parents need to use a separate email from the student. You can't share when you're setting those up, and keep them in a safe location, but also someplace that you're going to be able to find them each year, because you will need them each year to fill out the FAFSA. Okay, so step 3 is to go and fill out the FAFSA, and you will do that at fafsa.gov. The FAFSA opens up each year on October 1st. So it will be opening up October 1st of 2020 to be ready for the students entering in the fall of 2021. And you want to make sure to go to fafsa.gov. That is the official federal site for filling out the free application for federal student aid. So I mentioned that a parent may need to provide their information on the application, and this slide just shows a listing of times when a parent doesn't need to fill out the FAFSA with their student. So if your student meets any of the following criteria, then it will just be their information alone on the FAFSA. So if the student is 24 or older, it's just going to be them on the FAFSA. If the student is married, supporting children or others, if they're a veteran or on active duty, if they're working on a master's degree in the coming year, if the student's an orphan, a ward of the court, an emancipated minor, homeless, in a legal guardianship, or they entered foster care after age 13, then they aren't going to need a parent's information on the FAFSA. Otherwise, parents will need to provide information. I'm going to move down a little bit so we can read that a little bit better. So this slide is designed to help you figure out which parent belongs on the FAFSA. So the first situation is where the student's natural parents are married to each other. If that's the case, then both parents will need to provide demographic and income information on the FAFSA. The second situation is that the parents aren't married, but the natural parents are living together. So if that's the case, then both natural parents will provide their income and demographic information on the FAFSA. Moving over one more to the right, if parents aren't married and they're not living together, so these are where natural parents are either separated or divorced or widowed, then you just pick the parent that the student has lived with the most during the previous 12 months. And this is an important point, and one that a lot of people get confused on. It doesn't matter who claimed the student on the taxes. It's who did the student live with the most during the previous 12 months. So just pay attention to that, because that's one that throws a lot of people off. So in some cases, though, maybe parents exactly split time equally. If you can't say that a student lived with one parent more than the other, then you are to pick the parent that provided more financial support to the student. Okay? And if that natural parent has then remarried that is when step-parent information will also need to be included on the FAFSA. So step-parent demographic information and also income information. Down at the bottom of this slide, you'll notice some circles that describe people that are not parents, so they should not appear on the FAFSA. A widowed step-parent, grandparents, foster parents, aunts, uncles, legal guardians, brothers and sisters. So their information, income information does not belong on the FAFSA. So hopefully this will help you figure out who needs to be involved in this process as you move forward. Okay, so this is the FSA ID.ed.gov site. This is where you want to go to create your usernames and passwords. So first, the student will fill out their username and password. On the next couple of pages, it's going to ask date of birth, social security number, address, email address. So you'll have to fill all of that out for the student and then come back and create an FSA ID username and password for a parent. Just make sure you each are picking separate usernames and passwords and separate email addresses. You can't share in this case. Once you have your usernames and passwords completed, that usually takes as much time as actually filling out the FAFSA. So if you've made it through that step, you can feel good that you're about halfway done. Just make sure you put them in a safe location, but a place that you can access them, because you'll need them each year when you fill out the FAFSA, and you will also need them if you are applying for federal student or parent loans. So here we are on the FAFSA site, and the pink star is showing that we need to make sure we're selecting the 2021-2022 FAFSA, because that is the one that will open up this year on October 1st. And then we will be able to use that FAFSA information for the fall of 21 and the spring of 22. So you would begin filling things out here by clicking the Start Here button. And just make sure you're at this site, the FSA.gov. It's the official federal site. Once you get into the FAFSA, it's going to start with student information, but there are several things that students won't have to enter, because it's going to pull that in when the student enters their username and password. So name, date of birth, social security number, address, and email will already be pre-filled in for the student. But these are some questions that the student will need to answer. For our Ohio students, they're going to ask, have you lived in Ohio for at least 5 years? And that's to help with determining state grant eligibility. If you are filling it out and from another state, it's going to ask you about, have you lived in that state for at least 5 years? It will also ask if you are a U.S. citizen. You have to either be a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen to receive federal financial aid. You'll be asked about your high school completion status. Are you going to have a high school diploma? Are you going to receive a GED? Or did you complete a homeschool program? Because that is necessary to receive federal aid as well. Then you'll be asked about the type of degree that you're working on. Are you going for a certificate program, an associate's degree that's a 2-year program, or a bachelor's degree that's a 4-year program? Just do your best to answer that question. It's not critical if you don't get it right, and it can be fixed later on. Students will also be asked about their grade level. So coming out of high school, your answer probably would either be that you've never attended college before, or it could be that you're taking CCP classes, and so you could answer that you're still going to be a first-year student, but that you have attended college before. Some students may have taken so many CCP classes that they could answer that they're going to be a sophomore. So again, just do your best to answer about your grade level. Male students are required to register with Selective Service to be eligible for federal financial aid. And so if you haven't done that yet, you can actually do it through the FAFSA. It will just ask, have you registered? And you can say no. And then, do you want to be registered? If you say yes, then they will pull your information from the FAFSA and send it to the Selective Service. Even if you aren't yet 18, they will hold on to that information and send it at the time you turn 18. Students will need to enter their driver's license number if they have one, answer about the highest grade level completed by each parent, and the name of their high school. Then you'll come to the school section. This is where you're going to list the colleges, the universities that you want to receive your FAFSA application. You have to list at least one school. This application won't be complete if it doesn't have anywhere to go. So list at least one school, but you can list up to 10 schools. You don't have to be accepted at a school yet when you're filling out the FAFSA. It'll still go to the school and hang out there until you're accepted, and then the school will be able to access it and act on it once you've been accepted for admission. You can also come back in later and update your list of schools. Maybe you need to add a school that you're interested in now, or you've decided to take a school off your list, and you can remove them if you want to do so, and then just resubmit it, and that will get updated and sent out to the schools. Then we're going to move on to the parent information section of the FAFSA application. So it will start by asking the parent's marital status, the household size. So household size is made up of the student, whoever the parents are from the earlier chart, and then whoever those parents are providing more than half of the support for should also be included. So other siblings, other family members that the parents are supporting, others that aren't family members that are being supported by the parents. And then the number in college, you'll count the student and anyone else being supported by the parents that are in college, but you're not allowed to count parents in college. And then for the 21-22 FAFSA, it's going to ask for 2019 tax information. And that may seem a little odd, but it's back a little ways, but you should have your 2019 taxes done, and that's why they're choosing that year, because that information should be finished and accessible so that you can use it to enter into the FAFSA. Parents will be asked if they're receiving combat pay, if they're receiving scholarships as parents, if they received tax education credits, if they had payments or distributions of IRAs in 2019, if they had tax-exempt interest, child support that they paid, or received earnings from co-ops or federal work-study programs. This is an example of a screenshot from within the FAFSA form, and I just wanted to show you what it would look like. Just know this is from last year, so that's why it's saying for 2018. When you get into the FAFSA, you'll want to make sure it's saying for 2019. And if your tax filing status is that you've already completed your taxes for 2019, and that you filed an IRS Form 1040, and if your tax filing status is single, head of household, or married filing a joint return, then you may see this box pop up about the IRS data retrieval tool. It won't pop up if your status is married filing separately. What this does is allows you to link to the IRS. So if you click the link to IRS, it will take you out to their site. You'll confirm your address information. Click on a button that says transfer my information back into the FAFSA. And then it'll bring you back to the FAFSA where you will see that a lot of the income questions have already been filled in for you. So this is a wonderful tool. I think it relieves a lot of anxiety because it's going to put the right income information in the right lines, and you feel good because you know things got in where they're supposed to, and we like it because we know we're really getting good information. So if link to IRS pops up for you when you're filling out the FAFSA, definitely use it. It's a good thing. Okay, some of the questions though that won't be filled in, parents will still need to answer, if they received child support for any children in the household, if they are receiving housing, food, or living allowances, and this is typically like military allowances or clergy housing allowances. They'll have to answer about how much they paid into tax-deferred pensions or retirement plans in 2019. If they receive veterans non-education benefits, or if they receive workers' comp or disability. And then they'll also have to answer about how much they have in cash, savings, and checking accounts, the investment net worth, but investments do not include your retirement accounts or your home. So just any other investments would need to be counted. And also you'll have to answer about net worth of your business or an investment farm. Some exceptions there is if the business is majority family owned and controlled, and if you have fewer than 100 full-time employees, you don't have to count the net worth. And an investment farm is not the farm that you live on. So if you have a farm somewhere else that's not directly on your home property, that is what an investment farm is, and the net worth would need to be counted. Students then will also have to answer the same questions that we just talked through with parents, but for the most part, student income is much simpler than what parents have. So theirs goes pretty quickly. Maybe they didn't even file taxes, and that's okay. They can just say, I'm not going to file. And if their earnings are low enough and they're not required to file, then that's fine. They will just enter the amount of earnings that they had in 2019. And then they'll be asked if they have anything in cash, savings, and checking too. So that's typically what we see for student income. This is a list of situations that you can't report on the FAFSA, but things come up, and so I just wanted to share this with you because you'll want to contact the financial aid office at the school that your student is considering so that they can work with you to update your information. So FAFSA is looking at 2019, but we know a lot has happened in the last year, and so maybe you have experienced a change in employment status. So you can reach out to the financial aid office for a special circumstances form and update your information there. You can't go in and change the FAFSA. You update the financial aid office and they take care of it for you. If you have a lot of medical expenses that aren't covered by insurance, that's something that the FAFSA doesn't ask about, but the financial aid offices can take that into consideration. If you've had a change in parent marital status, make sure to reach out to the financial aid office and they can help you with that change. If your family is paying unusual dependent care expenses, or if your student can't provide parent information, reach out to the financial aid office, and again, they can help you with those situations. Verification. This is something that happens after you file the FAFSA, and it's just the federal government selects a certain number of FAFSAs each year for verification. It doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. If you get selected for verification, it just means that they picked you to have your information verified. The list at the bottom is things that are typically verified, and the first one is proof of your 2019 income. Here's the good news. If you were able to use that IRS data retrieval tool, then that's already considered verified because that data is coming directly from the IRS. So if you use the tool and then get selected for verification, your verification process is going to be a lot simpler. A lot of times though, families have to answer about their household size. So you have to fill out a form listing everyone in the household, how old they are, how they're related to the student, and then how many of those people are in college and what college they're attending for the coming school year. And then you'll be asked about untaxed income questions as well. So if you get selected, just reach out to the financial aid office and work through the process and do it as quickly as you can so that you keep the financial aid process moving forward. So after the FAFSA, to receive results, you need to apply for admission and be accepted for admission at a school. So they can't tell you what you're eligible for until you are accepted. So make sure that you are working on your admission applications too. Then you will receive financial aid offers from each school. And a financial aid offer is going to look different from each school. Some of them come in the mail, some are just online. So just be watching email for notifications that an aid offer is ready, or be watching the mail. And the aid offer will list the cost to attend the school, the charges, and then show you everything that you're eligible for from the federal government, from the state government, from the school. It will include scholarships if you're eligible, grants if you're eligible, and then student loans. And then provide you with a bottom line number so that you know what your cost would be for the school year. Don't forget to apply for local scholarships. So work with your guidance office or any community foundations to see what you might be able to add to that financial aid offer. And then the decision date typically is May 1st. That's when schools want to know if you're coming or not. So try to work through this process and be ready to make your decision by May 1st. This is a listing of all the different sources of financial aid. So financial aid can come from the federal government, and you start that process by filling out the FAFSA. So that's why we're talking about FAFSA today. The state government is another source of financial aid, and at least in Ohio, the FAFSA is the starting point for state aid as well. And the FAFSA can also help with aid from colleges and universities, but just know that there may be additional applications necessary for college or university financial aid, or scholarships or grants. So I would advise checking their websites to see what's available to make sure you're not missing out on anything. I talked on the last slide about checking locally too. So work with your high school guidance office to see what's available with scholarships in the local area. Civic organizations in your community like Elks or Rotary, they may be offering scholarships, so make sure that you can check with them to see if there's anything available. Other sources could be churches or employers. So those are just some ideas to make sure you're not missing out on any types of aid. And this is a little bit more about what you can get through the federal government. The federal Pell Grant is the biggest grant program. And by filling out the FAFSA, you are applying for the federal Pell Grant. And it is a need-based grant, which means that they are going to look at family income and how many people are in your household and how many are in college to determine your eligibility for the federal Pell Grant. If you're eligible, you will see that on your financial aid offer from the school. The FAFSA is the starting point then for the federal Teach Grant. This is for students planning to go into teaching in high-need subject areas and who are willing to teach in low-income school districts. And the FAFSA is the starting point, but there are additional forms that students will need to fill out to receive that grant. And then federal student loans. Anyone who fills out the FAFSA is going to receive an offer of federal student loans regardless of family income. And then there will be additional forms that the student needs to fill out if they choose to accept the student loans. Okay, and then I'll just spend a little bit of time talking about opportunities through the state of Ohio. You can find more about these opportunities at ohiohighered.org/SGS. SGS is state grants and scholarships. So the first option listed here is the Ohio College Opportunity Grant, and you apply for this grant by filling out the FAFSA, and you have to have your FAFSA filed by October 1st of 2021. So plenty of time to get that FAFSA in and still be considered for state grant assistance. The Ohio College Opportunity Grant is available at private schools and at public main campuses for Ohio residents. It is not available to students attending branch campuses. Ohio also offers Choose Ohio First grants, and these are primarily STEM grants, so for students that are interested in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Check on the website of the school you're looking at to see if they are participating in the Choose Ohio First program. The Ohio War Orphans Scholarship is for students who have a parent that is either deceased or majority disabled during a time of war. So check on the details on how to apply for that scholarship at the website. Ohio also offers a nurse education assistance loan program where students going into nursing can receive loans that can be forgiven once they are out in the field. And the last one listed here is the Ohio Safety Officers College Memorial Fund. So this is for students who have a parent that was killed in the line of duty in peace officer or firefighters. So again, check the website there for more details. Okay, I wanted to finish up by talking about how you can pay your remaining balance, because sometimes even with all the options of financial aid that we've gone through today, it may not be enough to fully cover the charges at a school. So the federal government offers the Federal Parent Plus Loan, and to apply for this, first you have to have filled out the FAFSA, and then a parent can fill out the application for the loan, and as long as they don't have anything negative in their credit history, like a bankruptcy or a late payment, they'll probably be approved for the loan. And they can use the loan to cover anything that's not covered by other financial aid. Another option is private education loans. This can be either a loan in the student's name, but they're probably going to need a cosigner, or a parent can apply for a private loan. These loans are offered through many different banks and lenders, and they have a variety of interest rates and fee structures. So check with the school that you're looking at to see if they have a list of lenders that they work with as a good starting point for finding a private education loan. Typically, the payments on these loans are deferred until after the student is out of school, and then they will enter repayment once they are out, have graduated and are out working. Schools often offer monthly payment plans too, so you can check into that option, because maybe it's easier on your family budget to split things up over several months rather than coming up with money each semester. And then just a few other options, using home equity loans, or maybe you have been using a college savings plan like the 529 plan. So that's another way that you can pay for your remaining costs. And then joining the military. That's another option for students to help with paying for their tuition. You put in the service time, and then the military will help with some funding for your education. So that's everything I wanted to go over with you today about the application process for financial aid. But if you do have any questions, again, you can reach out to me at amberg@muskingum.edu, and I certainly wish you well through this whole process. Take care.